Deputy Malcolm Ferry, Assistant Minister for Children and Families.
Anne Homer, Head of Finance Business Partnering for SIPES.
Donna Marriott, Director of Children, Young People and Family Services.
Okay, thank you everyone. We've got 45 minutes for this hearing. So I'll start with some general questions about the budget. So Minister, please can you confirm if there were any challenging decisions to be made as part of the drafting of this proposed Children and Families budget?
I think one of the the challenges we've had, of course, was we've got the transformation project, and the business cases went to COM. There were three options: option 1, 2, and 3. The first option was very ambitious. The second was slightly less ambitious, but provided phasing through future years. But those were, I suppose, the sort of Rolls-Royce solutions. And we were pleased that, COM went with option 3. That was perhaps one of the most, the challenges that we had was over the transformation project. They ultimately, the budget that they agreed on that to go into the plan was 7.6 million. And that will, transform the service over the next few years.
Right, so that option 3, did that not include quite a few parts that options 1 or 2 would have had?
I think the biggest, option 1 had what would be a very nice to have, but perhaps expensive option in that it had a floating team in effect, right. Which could be put into place at fairly short notice. Those staff would have been deployed in various parts of the business, but could have been brought together as a team. So I think that was a very nice to have, but the cost of that would have been quite substantial.
What was the difference in cost between option 1 and option 3?
Oh, and what was the difference? I mean, I know that 7.6 million was the option 3.
I think it was about another 4 million.
Oh, okay.
11 in total.
Yeah.
And that would have been mainly covering.
There were other specialist workers, and there was investment in technology as well that was included in that additional cost. But I think we're happy. I think we're happy with option 3. We get additional staff under that, and it allows us to transform the business at the same time that we'll be transforming the residential estate, and we will have homes that are fully staffed. It gives us an extra 12 FTE in the multidisciplinary service, 6 FTEs in the residential childcare officers. So to the short rate units would each get an extra 2 additional staff, and then there were 2 additional staff in our other homes, and then there are 3 FTE business support staff. So we didn't get the Rolls-Royce of solutions, but we got something that will which is very, 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 very good as far as we're concerned, and will support children properly.
You've got that there to do the improvements. Just don't want to talk about this for too long, but that floating team, would that have meant that there were members of staff ready to fit in where necessary? Is that the idea of it?
There would have been, yes. I think now that we suffer from not having adequate number of staff. So we need to, that would have left us in a position where we would always have had cover.
Okay.
But as I say, an expensive recurring cost to that.
Okay. So were there any other bids for funding which were rejected?
I'm not sure we. I don't believe there was anything
No.
rejected, no.
Okay, right.
I mean, we've had the, and I might ask Malcolm to say a bit, and we've obviously had the, you know, the issue over, you know, the SCAE and the town youth club.
Yeah.
And I think that is constantly misunderstood, but, you know, I'll let Malcolm, I can,
Well,
you know, part
we've
of
got
it
some
is
more
that,
questions
you know,
on that as well.
yes,
We've
so,
got some more questions about that coming
yeah,
up.
so we can come back to that,
Okay.
but that was one where, again, there is, you know,
Be
it
nice to
hasn't,
do them
hasn't
both
been
now, I
rejected,
suppose.
it's been moved along by
Yeah.
a couple of years.
Okay. So we note that the department is due to make savings of 539,000 in 2026 through office and roles. So could you outline how these savings will be made?
Well, we've done a reshaping of the service, which has already brought us savings of 1.7 million this year. It's going to be a tough, I think it's a tough ask for another 539,000, having already made those savings, recurring savings this year. I might ask Anne what areas you'll be looking at, or Donna, to achieve that 539,000. It is a tough ask.
Yeah.
So,
Do you want me to go?
Yeah.
I think.
So every
Oh,
year
I
we do
can,
a sort
yeah.
of zero basing exercise where we look at all the priorities of the department. We look at all the business as usual budgets and reprioritise and move them around, and then we take a bit of the savings off and fit it all in. So Donna hasn't taken any posts off anything in particular. We've reorganised the priorities in a better way. But if and we have more or less completed that exercise for this year, haven't we?
Yeah, some of it, I think, if you think we had the IYSS and we've restructured and moved that, because obviously it's changed and now becoming the multidisciplinary
Could you
service.
just explain what that is for anyone
So
listening?
that was previously the intensive youth service that was sort of based on a bit of a school-based model that was trialled for a while and didn't really quite deliver, I think, the approach that we wanted. So we've moved that into what is now becoming the multidisciplinary service that then there's some more investment to. So there's some posts that have been moved away because they weren't relevant to this model, and then there's some new ones being created as well. So, and you'll see there's quite a bit of investment
It
in there
means
as
that,
well.
like a social worker has the staff around them, in effect, that can support them
Yeah.
in any case that will come up. And I think that's a good model. As you see, we're going to be expanding that model under option 3 with the multidisciplinary staff.
Yeah.
But it is a much more effective way of supporting social workers. And I think the benefits of that we can see is that, you know, the upturn in the number of people who want to become permanent social workers. So we've moved from 40% 2 years ago of permanent staff to last week we reached 73%
That's much better.
permanent
isn't it?
social workers. So and I think staff can, somebody said it in the office, I think, but that they can see the sort of positives coming through now.
That's really good. Just to check again about these changes in office and roles. So this movement of making these differences to the multidisciplinary team and so on, is that what's already happened, or is this what's planned to happen with that 530?
No, it's already happening.
So that is happening already.
Yeah, in process. Some's
Yeah.
done and some still work
So
to
It's
do.
a road, but we're already, and there are social workers already supported by teams that wrap around them.
And this is where you think
And
the continuing savings are going to come
Yeah.
in?
We've got some as well in things like the move from agency staff to permanent roles. We're starting to see real success. Obviously, that's a much lower costing model.
And of course,
Yeah.
that brings the cost down as well.
Yeah, okay. That's good. So just some more questions about the FTE employees. So that in comparison to last year's figures, there's been a reduction of 41 across the department. So could you explain what that's about, please?
Might I take
Yeah,
this?
if you want to take, yeah.
Yes, it's the other side of the issue that we talked about in the
The children education, yeah.
So back in last year's budget, well, when we split the two heads of expenditure between children and families and education and lifelong learning, we moved the money to the right place and failed to move the FTE to the right place. So the total number of FTE in the Chief Officer's Directorate remains the same, 3 down, but there's a movement from A to B, so from children and families to ELL, but it's not a real movement, it's a correction in where we've counted the posts. The people remain the same
Okay,
people.
so
So it's 50, that was 53 posts moved out of children and families, and the 12 that the Constable has explained are new in the new plan are the additional ones. So there's a net movement of 41.
okay. So I'm just going through my mind at the moment. I was going to ask another question, which was about the full-time employees in the office of the Chief Officer. So that's what you've just
That's
explained.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's the other side.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the
yeah.
other side of those, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, that's fine then. I think that's for you, Heather.
Thank you. I've got some questions about the capital projects, working through that.
Yeah.
North of Helier Youth Centre, it's now been designated as a major project
Yep.
in this budget. Excuse me. The funding has been transferred from the grouped head of expenditure for new school and educational developments.
Yeah.
Can you provide a breakdown of the costs, because the total project approval is the 16.1 million?
Correct. Yeah, sure. So if I spin it back a little bit, in 2024, there was a sum of money earmarked to the tune of 9.8 million. And that was just so that we could start to bring the project into focus. So what we've done this year is, and we've always recognised that we needed more than the 9.8 million. So we've earmarked £15 million of capital towards the project. The overall total is, give or take, 16.1 million. So the rest of that is revenue costs associated with getting the project off the ground. So, you know, we wouldn't want to obviously start paying for staff and things like that until we're almost ready to open. But we've laid some of that additional cost in as revenue
We've also
costs.
got 2 projects now, because we've got the Yes service that has, right, it's rolled into one project. There's now
Exactly.
2 distinct, there's the Yes project that going into the old
Belmont House.
Belmont House,
Yeah.
which was a pub.
It was, yeah.
And so that in itself is over £2 million
Yeah,
of the difference.
and that will be coming on stream, hopefully, by December of next year.
Okay,
So-
so when are we likely to see the doors open on the Ann Street Youth
By
project?
mid-2028 is the plan
Okay,
to
so
get the doors open.
the funding is budgeted only up to 2028, so we're expecting it to open in 2028.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any funding in the budget that will develop safe access and walking routes to the youth centre?
Yeah, so we're really conscious that, you know, it's going to be a real hub around there. There are already some safe access routes to get there, but what we've done with the plans is we've made sure that the access route all the way through, do you remember when we visited
Yeah.
the site? So from the road all the way through, children and young people will be able to get through the whole of that site from the front. So if they want to access it from the back where there's less traffic, they will be able to come in from both those sides, because obviously and we position the door on the side of the building rather than coming straight out into the road. So there'll be a bit of a cushion of a pavement to make it safer.
Thank you. In the budget, the named sponsoring department for the Lascay project is education and lifelong learning.
Yeah.
But the minister tells us that that's not the case.
That's right. So what we've done is the Minister and I visited the Lascay Youth Project a couple of weeks back and saw the small improvements that we've made in the facility, which is brilliant. But we do recognise that longer term we need to get something fixed in the budget to make sure that there's a proper fit for purpose, more modern site on there in the foreseeable future. So we've designed it deliberately to dovetail with the St Helier Youth Project. So we've taken it under our wing. So what we're going to do is when 2028 comes, there will be monies already earmarked in the forthcoming budgets to start to get that project off the ground.
So is the Lisgate project entirely dependent on the completion of the Ann Street project?
Yeah, so it will, the two will dovetail, but we couldn't be in a position where we started taking one off stream before the other one came online.
So if there's any delay to the Ann Street project, that will have a knock-on
It
delay
could
to
have
the
a knock-on
Lisgate.
effect, yeah.
So
But
what we did, what we did see was how far, as well as actually meeting the children and whatever, who love their youth club actually, and they were really nice to them. But what we did see is where had it actually progressed to, and I hadn't seen that. Well, it had only progressed as far as sketched plans.
Yeah.
There was no plans, for instance, ready to submit to planning, and I learned some things there, which I don't think you'd be allowed to do. One suggestion had been that when it was knocked down, the kids could move into porta cabins. You would never be on a building site. You would never be allowed to put porta cabins up as a temporary youth club.
Porta cabins up at the Passerelle.
Yeah, no, but it's a building site, so with demolition going on.
Yeah, because we went not that long
Yeah.
ago as a panel to have a
Yeah.
look at the youth club there.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's great, but it's needs updating, doesn't it, or redoing. And I should know this, I can't think at the moment. Was feasibility work done? Or you said there was...
So there was just some outline plans, but what we're going to do now, once this budget goes through, obviously we've got a clear line of sight to actually get the project up and running. So there will be some proper worked up plans that will almost start immediately, so that we've got something more
We're going to
tangible
try and
than we've
start the
currently got.
feasibility. It's depending on fund, but we would like to try and start the feasibility and at least have something running, because by the time you finish, the town youth centre, you want to be ready to go.
Exactly.
You don't want to go through another 18 months of planning, so
Yeah.
you would need to do that in advance.
So
But as things stand, they are sketch plans. They're not.
We need to do more work on
There's
it.
a lot of work to be done. And is that still the plan that you would want to go? Because you demolish one and literally the new one's sort of built to one side of it.
there's room
So-
for...
And I think there's a lot more room there than,
But from this perspective, so the funding is
Sorry.
there, 28,
Yes,
29.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's the important thing.
The other part of your capital project, the important major project, is the Loving Homes estate, which you're looking for 11.9 million.
Yep.
And the budget says that there's two components to that work. So there's the residential care and also the specialist care. So can you just explain broadly what both of those things mean, please?
So specialist care is the Greenfields site, which to some extent will change, because there will be greater scope for what can happen there, because there's not just Greenfields. There are at least two other buildings on site, and what it should enable is that Greenfields, you can have part of them can be used for inherent jurisdiction, which is where children could, actually go out for normal education, but the court decides to what extent their movements are restricted. So, in inherent jurisdiction, yes, that it's not like the other children's homes; they can't go out at night. If the court deems it's inherent jurisdiction, then they have to remain there at night. But they have other activities. They can go out, in some cases supervised. So that would be one of the things that would be introduced there.
And will that be delivered in 2026?
I believe that's the plan, yes, yes. So the plan is that there is one end of Greenfields where there's currently 2 rooms. You've got 6, I'll call them rooms, together in a long line. Don't want to sound too much like a... But and then at the far end, you've got 2 separate rooms. Currently aren't used. They're part of the original 8 rooms that were built, and they would become the inherent jurisdiction. You can have a separate entrance into those, so they are, you know, separated from the secure unit, and there's a lot more flexibility. One of the other buildings that's available on the Greens site would be used for education.
So that's not the specialist side of things? Is it
It
still
is,
specialist?
yeah,
It's
yes, yeah, that's still the specialist side. So
education?
some of those, yeah, so some of those activities where we currently, you know, have difficulties offering those services. I mean, there is education, but it could be a lot better. You will actually have somewhere where that can be done. There's also greater scope for looking at sort of degrees of not sort of keeping people in, but where therapeutic sort of care can be given as well.
So that's the specialist care side
Yeah.
of things. What will the residential
The
portion
residential,
develop?
right, the
deliver?
residential is quite a change because at the moment you have, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you have 9 homes. Some of those homes, and I'm deliberately not going to name the homes, but some of those homes have as few as 2 beds. Some have 3 beds, which possibly is not ideal. The ideal is probably 4 beds in each home with a residential manager. As part of the transformation, most of those houses, and actually the names give away their previous use in some case, because some of them are old school caretakers' houses and were never really suitable as children's homes, but they were what children's services were given. Others have been on leases that end. We lose the use of the building, have to start work on another building. You need planning permission. So we move to where we have buildings that have been specifically converted as children's homes for the long term. So we have houses with really a minimum of 4 beds. The only 2-bed one that will remain is one for emergency and remand bed.
So what's the balance of the funding then between residential and specialist?
The balance of the
11.9 million.
11.9.
says for residential and specialist.
Okay.
This one.
We have
If you look on the,
5 point.
it's on the RH and SS, that one, this one.
Yeah.
Minister.
Oh, it's
that
on.
one.
Yes,
This
sorry.
one.
Right.
You
Okay.
can look across, yeah.
Right. It's easier if I tell you what the total for Greenfields refurbishment is 5.5 million out of the 11.9.
So that's Greenfields though.
Yeah, we take that out of the total. So the
You take
oh
that
wait
out
a
of the
minute, the total
11.9.
right, the total overall for both total overall is 14.1 million.
And so if you take the Greenfields out of that, so how much is allocated to specialist and how much is allocated to residential?
Sure.
Do you want,
Do you want me
Oh,
to?
we have the 11.
do you want Donna to pick
Do you want
it
me
up?
to?
Yeah, the 11
So,
point.
yeah, so,
It's the 11 million is for the specialist.
well, no,
No.
so there's some money this year that we're using in year to do the refurb for Greenfields that come into that
Yeah.
14. And then over 3 years, the money for Greenfields at that site is sort of 5 million. We've already done one property up on that site, which is going to be an assessment home eventually. And then there's a property that needs doing up, which is to the side of it, the school at the moment. Most of the money is the refurbishment of bringing the school last pass into the site, and the external space, bringing the perimeter and creating more recreational facilities inside.
So that's
So-
that's the residential bit.
That's the Greenfields secure home.
That's the
So most of the
specialist.
money on the specialist site is allocated to getting Greenfields up to a good state, and then there's some small monies on the refurbishment of the other houses
other
on that
properties.
site. So that whole site becomes specialist, because you'll have Greenfield secure and remand, and then you'll have a assessment house, which is the property we got now. Then there'll be another emergency bed, which will also do the remand bed, which will
Okay,
just
so all of that's
all
under
of that
the
site
specialist
is all
bit.
specialist. Yeah.
So which bit is the residential bit and how much is allocated to that?
Everything else. So what the minister's just spoken about, under that less than the 5 million, so about 6 million, is all the money on creating one supported accommodation property, which will be shared with Andean, where they'll build 3 flats in the garden, and then the extra residential homes that will be built in 27, 28, a bit further up
So
line.
it's,
Okay, thank you.
it's 14.1 less 5.4 for Greenfields, less the
About 1.5.
1.5 million
Now
would come out
paid.
of our own budget.
Okay.
So it's
About 6.
6.9. Yeah, I come out to about 8 million. Is for the Loving Homes.
Well, minus the 1.5, so about 6.
Oh, right, okay.
Closer
So
to
about 6.5.
Okay, so I was going to ask you about Greenfields next, but I think you've probably said
Yeah.
a lot about
So-
Well, you
Greenfields.
can answer, you know,
Is there anything else you wanted to say about Greenfields, or I think we've heard quite a lot, haven't we?
Covered
I think we've been on a long journey as to how it should be best used. I think that has been a long journey. I think we're there now, and given that, you know, it was built 20 odd years ago, probably now, and it was built in a different time. I think we're going to make the best use of the building now.
Yeah, and those things you said, some of it's already underway, so it's actually happening.
It's actually
Yeah,
happening.
okay.
We've used 1.5 million of our own money to do that.
Good, okay. And then my next questions were going to be more about the Loving Homes
Loving Homes.
estates. So this is about, I thought this was about the number of residential beds and,
It is.
Yeah.
So the number of beds goes up, so that we've got sufficiency in beds and individual houses. So you know, as I say, unfortunately, some of the houses we're given have got 2 beds in them.
yeah,
If you think that you've got to have a residential manager in there for just 2 children, it makes those houses very expensive, and also, you know, a 2-bedroom house is probably not ideal for children's home anyway. So those will be gone. We will go up to four beds in each house. Some of the houses are currently being sourced, and so we're at that. You know, we are already on the way to you know, the transformation.
that's good.
There are still 1 or 2 to be found, but we are clearly on the way, and some of those will be delivered. One will certainly be delivered by the end of this year.
So will that be a 4-bed
It's
house
a 4-bed, yep.
by the end of this year?
Yep.
Oh, right, okay. And so by the end of 2026, do you expect to have quite a few of these in place?
Yes, there's another one in sort of St Saviour stroke St Helier that will come on early next year. One as Donna said actually has already been converted. That's on that's on the Greenfield site, but nevertheless it provides 4 beds. There's another one in the east of the island that again will be early next year, if not the end of December this year. So there's a fair bit going on as regards, and these have been sourced through the government or with the help of Andium.
Okay, because so just for the numbers, can you just tell us how many residential beds there are now and how many you expect there will be following the expansion?
So there are, in the new world, there are 30 plus 2 self-contained flats.
Right.
24.
And in the old world, there were, let me just check I have that right.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
In the old world, there were 4, 6, 8, 11, 19,
About half.
22. So there were 25 in the old world, 25. So we've gone up by 5 beds plus 2 self-contained flats.
Okay. And
Those self-contained flats would be for people that have reached the age where they're soon going to move on to living on their own, but they're incorporated on the same plot as the care home. So they're still in care, but they've got a certain
there's
amount of
people around and
independence,
so on.
and yeah.
So that's a considerable amount of money for an extra 5 beds.
It's more than that when you if you work through what I think with what the minister's probably looking at is you're counting the Greenfields homes. So I think the modelling shows that you almost double the residential space, but because you're counting the Greenfield space that we can't really use, it's only registered for 4 beds, so it's got an 8-bed unit, but it's not really in the count, if that makes sense. When you take Greenfields out, because it's not really bed space, because it depends on whether a child's remanded.
so what would it be if you
So-
not
Well,
included?
for instance, in the old scheme, there is one house that has 8 beds in it, but realistically, you cannot actually use the 8
Not you,
beds.
yeah.
Okay.
And it's currently at 4, isn't it? And I don't think it probably ever has any more than that.
Yeah, it's got 3,
It's got 3 at the moment. So
It's the way it's configured.
that's another 4 that come on stream in the new scheme. You've also got to remember that we're having to get rid of quite a number of houses and convert new ones. Because yes, there are beds in these houses, but as I said before, the premises are not suitable.
And can I just add, on the list that we've got where you've got the homes that we've had in the estate, several of those aren't there now. They've been closed for things like subsidence or planning. So our bed number as we sit today, compared to the new estate when it's done, will double. The new estate will double what we've got available, not including the secure estate, because you can't count that as bed space, because that's all depend on if a child comes into custody. So if you exclude that,
So one of those that's listed as a current with 3 beds is actually condemned, so due to subsidence. So there are in effect, no beds in use.
So would you say that at the moment there's actually only about 15 beds?
we've got
Probably not. Yeah.
Just get everything up.
Perhaps we can confirm that in more.
You're in writing, but it
Yes,
is
so
lower than.
It would be good to
you
know
know.
how many residential beds you've got
Yeah.
and how many this is going to deliver.
yeah.
And yeah, thank you.
That is we can give you that.
Okay, so the upgrades to Cyprus estates includes funding for residential homes and secure settings, and this is listed as £500,000 for the years 26, 27 and 28. Please could you detail where that work is required? And I must say I'm finding some of these projects quite confusing and how they all work in with each other. So this part, the 500,000, what's that for?
500,000, what was that under?
Upgrades to Sipes Estates.
Yeah, and it's, under that title, it's funding for residential homes and secure settings.
5.
We'd had a rolling vote
Just our
for
normal
refurbishment. It used to be 750, but because of the large amount of project work, that's down to 500. So that's for upgrading the
General
homes
maintenance.
homes that we've got.
So that's for upgrades to the homes which are the 15 beds,
No.
roughly.
As required.
Okay, all right, and there's a separate head of expenditure, that's my, actually, I was going to say, why is it in a separate head of expenditure to the Loving Homes project, but you're saying this is the rolling amount that's been there anyway?
Across sites.
Okay, and can you clarify, and can you say in more detail what that 500,000 is used for?
So,
To be used
so
for in
the
26?
decommissioning of the homes when you've closed them or opening them, maintenance,
It's
all of those.
all the things that you would
Homes
would
closed.
need to maintain 9 properties in effect.
So it's
A
nine
lot close.
Well,
properties.
two are closed,
Three,
yeah,
yeah.
so 7, yeah.
So 7 properties
Cost of closing though.
for their,
Dilapidations and stuff.
Yep, remember that they're on
It's a lot.
a number on leases, so therefore you have to renovate them and bring them up to the standard they were when you took them on. So it's all the general work that you would undertake.
okay, so that's about £70,000 per property in 2026?
So s-
Should we go to plan for you when we get back to base? There is
the model.
that rolling plan has a list this long, and it's
Yeah, if we can have
Be
that,
helpful.
that'd be good.
John will be able to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And moving from capital onto revenue growth, in the annex, it says that the funding builds on the previous significant investment provided in previous budgets. The budget has had a lot of money in previous budgets. So can you briefly describe why this further investment is required?
Right. There has been a lot of money in the past spent on children's services. I'm not convinced that the money was in the past was spent in the best way, and we didn't appear to have actually made significant progress past the Jersey Care Inquiry. And so I'm well aware that this is something that's often said, you know, children's services have had a lot of money over the years. It was sort of done ad hoc, and I think that's the worst way of actually spending money. So where the increases come, we have more and more children referred through to the service. We have rising costs. So in 2021, there were 630 referred. This year, there were 721 children who came through our doors or were referred to us. And you can expect that to continue increasing, I think. And one of the problems we talk about the past is that there's an awful lot spoken about early intervention, but it wasn't really taking place. And the inspection reports, the most recent one, actually highlighted that. So we can actually expect more to come from that. Other things we've got is...
Sorry, can you just check that figure with you? 721 children referred to children's services. Was that last
current year to date.
To date?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's not necessarily for
No,
admission
not for
into
coming
care.
in. No.
That
They
could
are-
be through your
So
school.
they are
That's just
known to.
referrals.
Yes, in effect, they're known.
And given the level of funding and awareness that's gone into education, you would kind of expect that number
Yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
Exactly.
to increase anyway.
Absolutely.
So the
annex
other thing
also-
that we've, oh, sorry, no, okay.
The annex also describes that urgent action is required, and I think my question is the same. You know, why is this urgent when there's been so much ongoing work and focus on children's services in the preceding 3 or 4 years?
Well, I mean, we are building up, you know, a service that I think, as you're aware, that we're building up a service that has been criticised for many years as not performing particularly well, and there are costs involved in that. So we have a reform plan. We have to create new roles, as we've said. We've got two new homes. We've got sorry, I've lost track of where did we start on this?
I think the issue for us, Minister, is that, you know, once again, there's an awful lot of money going in. You know, I could read the figures back for the money that's gone in since 2021. You're now having 11.7. It hasn't been successful, the previous investment. So I think what we're wanting to know is why is the money that you've put in this year's budget actually going to have better success and actually improve the outcomes for children in the island, when over the last 5 years, despite significant investment, that hasn't happened?
I think the first thing is that we've got a plan. In the past, there has been no plan. There is a clear plan.
Well, we've had a
as to
children's
how
plan for...
we've not had a transformation plan as how the service should be transformed. We've never had that. We've never had a proper residential plan, and this is the first time where we've got that. I've got confidence that things are changing. As I said, the staff can see that as well, and I think that we come back in a year's time, or somebody else comes back, and you will see that this is money well spent. Donna, do you want to?
In terms of the, I'm just really conscious of time, but you know, in terms of the budget, you've indicated different levels of required funding moving forward. So, based on what you've just said, what assumptions and forecasts have been considered when you're preparing the budget and when you're responding to the plan and making the transformation, Minister?
Do you want to?
So I think there's probably, from my perspective, the range of different issues there. So I think there has been quite a lot of investment in the service if you look back, but you were going from a place where previously it had no real resource and it wasn't configured at all. So a lot of that previous investment was to actually increase the volume of social workers to respond to changes in legislation like the care leavers, legislation that required you to have PA. None of those things existed historically in the service. So that investment's gone, in my perception, when I've come in and looked, it's gone predominantly into making the service run how it should run. So there was a lot of investment to make a budget to provide UK placements because there wasn't a budget for that. So every year the service didn't have the resource. So I think that a lot of things have been, funding was put in to bring it up to speed into some degree. I think what didn't happen is probably the investment in the residential estate. And so what you've got, and the reason why it's become an urgent and critical thing, is that a lot of those homes are closing or not fit for purpose at all. And what we've got today as we stand is a whole estate which actually doesn't have beds for children to come into care. There isn't homes for them, and that has to be fixed. And property and homes cost a lot of money, and getting planning on property and building suitable homes is a really significant factor. And then I think Greenfields, in its right, hasn't had the investment to create the work it needed.
A good example, actually, of how money was probably not well spent in the past. So we spent 1.7 million on not buying two homes, but in effect converting and staffing two homes, which were on leases and have now been taken away from us. So that is money that was spent on very short-term.
Sorry, I am just
Yeah.
conscious of time, but where in the budget have you got any investment in fostering services? Does that come under the children's social care reform as well?
Yeah.
So part of the
Yeah.
7.6 there.
Yes,
Would be
so
foster-
that's to
yeah.
Will be
create
for fostering as well.
create hub and spoke fostering constellations that'll a wraparound support for foster
And once
carers.
again, you know, the question has to be, a lot of money has gone into fostering over the past
It
few
has.
years, and we haven't seemed to increase the level of foster carers. So what are you going to do differently to meet that outcome using the funding that you've got, Minister?
Right. So, you know, specifically for fostering, we have had numerous campaigns to try and increase the number of foster carers. Particularly, we need foster carers to look after teenage children. And despite 2 or 3 campaigns aimed at that, we find it virtually impossible to, and that's where we've got real demand. We don't have those problems in finding people who want very young children, babies or very young children, that's fine. But
So I think the question
So
is, what are
it's
you
tough.
going to do differently with the money that you've been allocated for fostering to actually
Well,
encourage people to come forward?
I think one of the things is the what's it called?
So Mockingbird.
Mockingbird.
In England.
So that's where, you know, you bring together support, not only for the foster carers, but the foster carers can also find a group that can actually support themselves.
Peer support.
So we are going to build on that model that's been used in the UK effectively, and I think that in doing that, if people can see that you've got that type of support, I think you're more likely to encourage more people to join the service. So there is a you know there is a plan there, and that's one of our key things, is introducing this Mockingbird model.
Okay, thank you. And is part of the Children's Service Improvement Programme the multidisciplinary service? So can you provide us with some information about how the multidisciplinary service will work, please?
Well, the multidisciplinary service works by supporting social workers. And so social workers taking on cases have a group of people around them who support them. So pretty much whatever the case is, there are people within that multidisciplinary service who have got the expertise to assist the social worker with whatever they may require.
So what sort of roles would that look like then?
The youth workers, we know family support workers, you know, the ones you've looked at, where you've got there's like family support workers that are
Yeah.
doing direct intervention with adolescents.
We've already had family support workers.
These are what there isn't. There's no. So
not-
when the IYSS that there's no adolescent service. The adolescent team was closed years ago, so there's no work to do around missing exploitation, adolescent intervention, educare. Doesn't exist in the service.
But that's
so
what the IYSS was doing.
What was doing, but wasn't
Wasn't
wasn't effective
Wasn't
and was
effective.
closed obviously quite some time ago. So this model is slightly different because it was set up as like one sort of school space where a really small group of children went. It was servicing I think about 10 or 12 children, really small group. This is a much bigger offer that wraps around all of those educare, so it provides a resource to a much, much larger group of children and young people and families
Okay, thank
across
you.
the whole system.
The annex document as well says that more capacity is needed to support children living at home with their families. But in relation to this funding, the CREA accompanying the budget references that practice has been too focused on avoiding bringing children into care. So can you just reconcile that statement, those two statements, please, Minister, and explain what the practice and priorities will be going forward?
Can you give me the first statement again?
More capacity is needed to support children living at home with their families.
Right.
The MDS.
And then the other statement is that,
Practice has been too focused on avoiding bringing children into care.
well, I suppose the two things are
Interesting.
slightly different. You know, you have got to support children that are with their families, and in most cases you would think that the family is the best place for children. However, what has been avoided in the past is that very difficult decision. And this is where I think the change is, that very difficult decision where you decide that it is not in the best interests of the child to stay with that family. So I don't think they're contrary to each other. They're different sets of circumstances.
Yeah.
You're always going to have, and families with children do need more support. But likewise, there are those families, as I've said, where it's a difficult, very tough decision, but I think it's one that's been avoided in the past. And those are right. And that's why, very sadly, we have children coming into care who are 15, 16, and there should have been early intervention when they were 3 or 4 years old. And there's no other word for it, that those children have been failed. And to give those children the life that they deserve now is extremely difficult, because the damage is done, and they have, they are the children that are seen as vulnerable by other individuals. They're drawn into crime. It is an awful situation, and I think that we have a cohort of children from the age of sort of 10 through to say 16 that we are going to be working through over that are going to come into our care in the next few years, who should have been seen at the age of 3, 4 and 5.
Okay, thank you.
All right, yes.
And yeah.
Now, we have gone over time. If I can just ask one more general question. I also wanted to say I can recommend fostering teenagers. I've done it, and it was lovely.
I'd have one if I was allowed. If I had, I would.
Why aren't you allowed?
Well, I might do. I've got to move back into my own house first. But,
You have to have some time for
my
it.
son's
but-
living in it, but I have a spare bedroom there, and my friends foster teenagers, so I'm well aware of the need for it. I would do it.
Yeah, it can be really nice, very rewarding.
I'll have to talk to my partner about it, but
Yeah, it's good. Just so a last question, general one. Minister, please could you confirm if there are any other highlights that we haven't not covered in this budget?
I don't think. We've done the tough one, the greenfields, the St Helier Youth Centre. We've covered Lascay. I think the transformation of both children's services and the properties will be evident in 12 months' time. Yeah. I think that the highlight, I've already told you in one way, is the fact that we've now got 73% permanent social workers.
Yeah.
And I've got to say that's to build that up from 40% 2 years ago is,
So
the fact that people want to stay now.
So children will be having more
Continuity, better outcomes
Yeah.
for children and young people, really important.
Okay, that's really good. All right, well, thank you. That's it then. We're done.